Hello, everyone. I'm Darius, and today, you see, I'm from HappyMac. Today, I'm gonna present you how mocking as services helped us to test our complex system, help us to have stable end-to-end test, improve our development, and to get more confidence on releases. So, uh, before diving in, I will elaborate more about what is HappyMac, about our business model, what kind of problems, challenges we have during implementation of first or second solutions, what learnings we got, and also takeaways we can use on your testing strategies or development strategies. So, HappyMac, it's a closed community where you can, by acquiring company share, you can become a shareholder. And for each owning share, you get a residence points. And with combination of local cost, you are able to book a apartment, our resort, or our partner resort. So you see, we have HappyMac owns 56 resorts across 15 Europe countries. And additionally, we have growing network of partner resorts. We are able, and you are able to book all these destinations via HappyMac. So before deep diving into a code, just a short introduction what we want to achieve here from QA perspective. So we want to be confident on testing our complex system. We want to automate regression. We do not want to be dependent on a manual testing, long maintenances, and also people make mistakes. So we want to test as much as possible and want to have a response as fast as possible. With our test cases, first achievement, we need to trust our test outputs, so they need to be very stable. And independent on experience, we identified that testing edge cases is very important in our system because it has so many connections. So, first phase, it was testing strategy preparation and also knowing your system. You can test system when you really know it, all connections, all business cases, all interfaces. And also I will introduce to the first solution that we came up. So about our system, right here you see our landscape of software that we use and how we are integrating them. So the biggest thing that you need to understand what is core system. It's a key thing in our HappyMac infrastructure. So for example, we have right now 3 core systems. First one is Seagot. It's a property management system. Here we store all resort-related information like booking, availability, invoicing, user stay, additional services. It's worth mentioning that with Seagot via AI, our resort staff works directly. So we just integrating our backend into Seagot to get all the information, availability, or change data. So another thing, it's SAP. Here, it's SAP holds all business processes which are related to SharePoints, contracts. For example, if you want to buy share, this is managed through SAP. If you're selling share, also through SAP. Buying points through SAP. So right now we're also integrating into Salesforce. Currently we have only little amount of user data in Salesforce, but working that in the future it will become the main system of our customer data. Also, we have a lot of integrations related to our front end, like Contentful. We are managing content for that. Our backend is microservices built on microservices infrastructure and has many internal connections to manage complex business logic behind it. For our members, customers, we have two user-facing interface. So first one is a web. So a web user can do booking, registrations, invoicing, shares, everything, marketplace. And via mobile, you can also do the same things. When you're in the resort, you can book additional services, see your status, all activities. So to better understand whole complexity, what is behind, just imagine user wants to book an apartment. First, he wants to search for it. So when you go into front end, searching for availability, you're requesting information from Seahot. When you're finding perfect match, you try to book. So when you try to book, we need to collect all information what is required for booking. So first we need to check points availability. If user has enough points to book apartment, if not, so we need to connect to points platform to request the latest point price. In parallel, we are connecting to Seahot and making temporal reservation and aggregating this information and providing for the user to validate. When user checks, okay, everything is valid, I agree with the pricing, location, dates, everything fits for me, and press confirmation. Under the hood, we are connecting to SAP. First, we're connecting to points platform, buying additional points. After that, we're connecting to SAP system, updating member points balance. And after that, we are just making final reservation in Seahot. And here you have a booking already made. So you can imagine what kind of complex processes, but we have more complex processes like cancellations, user shares buying. So you see we have a lot of moving parts. So right now we can deep dive how it will look, all the connections, all the moving parts. So right now we are facing old technologies and new technologies. We want to deal with IBM DB2 database and also React Native. Each platform, each software has its own interface. So we need to handle SOAP, REST, REST API with XML messaging. So these are the challenges. So by the nature of our core systems, they are stateful. All actions, connections are made in the core systems. Updates are irreversible. They are very hard to reverse because the chain reaction, cron jobs, data sinks just starting and updating all information across system. You can restore information on one system, but it will be not correct on others. So it's impossible right now to have. If you want data backup, it's a fully manual process for core system, about 2-3 business days. So right now it's not possible for us to have fresh environment to run end-to-end test, check functionality, and just destroy it. So this additional environment requires additional maintenance, physical servers, and it will cost a lot. So you see, because of these all moving parts, all in connections, it's very hard to test edge cases that are usually happening in production. And if you want track down the failure, it's so hard because you need deep knowledge of all microservices, all connections, and all other systems. So to have everything in mind, we came up with the first solution. We tried how we can use this system to have stable test cases. So there are minimal requirements for proc Moxie service. So you see it needs to support REST SOAP. It should be available to work with XML and also JSON formats. And because we want to use only staging environment, it should have a proxy capability. But because we do not want to ruin other internal users' work or testing. So yeah, let's deep dive. So after research in the market, available libraries and tools, we found, oh, it's an amazing tool, Imposter. It has everything what you need. It supports REST, SOAP, additional features, Salesforce, maybe we will need them in the future. So it also has proxy functionality, which is essential for our use case, and also provides another very useful tools like automatically capturing all requests and responses. If you want to have low maintenance cost, automatically collect everything, you can use it. So it's amazing. And also you can script to return dynamic responses. Oh, it's amazing. So how logical flow of it will look. So right here you see two examples. Like first example, when you have a response from a real core system, for example, user search for availability in a web, request comes from front-end to back-end through mocking service. Since it does not find any configured rule, it goes straight to core systems and response comes back to the end user. Another use case, you see when you have configured mocks for specific availability resort, so your request going to backend asking prox moxie, rules matches, and response is returned to the backend and frontend. Here you also bypassing core system at all. It's not impacted. So right now you see how it will look in development environment. When you try to collect or work mocks, you have right now we have 4 microservices running as a proxy mock services to connect to our core systems. Right now I wanted to represent only one flow that is required to have to set up your environment. Everything else running on my laptop, and what I do not need, other connections for other microservice, I'm just port forwarding to Kubernetes via kubectl. So after working for a month or month and a half, we realized that this tool does not fit our needs because it has a lot of constraints what we do not want to have. So first thing, it was proxy. Proxy was mainly built for endpoint path. So since we're using SOAP interface, we have only one path and all the data is in payload. So if you want to have proxy, you need to put all configurations in one single file for one endpoint. So in our case, this file became very big and largely and impossible to maintain. Another thing, automatic mock collection engine was also built on a path, and every time you wanted to collect mocks with Imposter, it just overwrites the same file over and over. So mock collection was only manual thing. So and also, like you saw in previous slide, we required at least multiple ports for a single core system. And it was not efficient to have multiple services running for the same core system to be enable mock, because they share information and data. So after that, we decided to build our own tool. And because we already made a lot of effort on working on it, we already know all the data what we need, all the flows what we need. So we need all specific cases what is required or essential for us. We want to be independent from folder structure. We want to have proxy and collect mocks automatically. So we came up with this diagram. So how this mock service will work. So first, when the container is starting, it starts loading all the conditions that you applied and start listening on a port that you provided. So here, when the request comes to the proxy mock service, it applies logic and returns response. In this case, response could be from actual core system or JS static or dynamic mock file. So how code is implemented? So we identified that we can just fall back to proxying at any time soon as we find out condition does not match. So first we are checking if we know the route. If we do not know the route, we just proxying. If content type of a request does not match, also we can proxy it. So if content type is correct, we're trying to parse data and trying to match a conditions, match a scanning request payload, and through it's trying to find fields that are defined in a condition and tries to match. If condition is matching, so we just returning mock. If condition is not matching, so where the second magic begins here, mock collection engine. So if it's enabled, so we are checking if this mock is already collected, so we just serving the mock. If mock is not collected, then we are forwarding this request to core system, getting response and returning response. In the meantime, we are saving request response to a file and also inserting condition by what kind of conditions this request could be catched and matched. Looks very simple. Yeah. So in this case, in our staging environment, we usually turn off mock collection engine because we do not want to collect another people work or when we searching for availability. And during local test run, it's usually very efficient to collect all the mocks. So, and what kind of technology we used for that? We wanted to be as close as possible for with developers, so we chose use Node.js and TypeScript because at any time we can get a code review and also help from developers. We are using Express.js network just to track the route and apply logic if we have different routes, different ports, and everything is packed in a Docker container with a PM2 library, which keeps your service up and running. If it crashes, it starts again. And it's worth mentioning that we are parsing XMLs to JSONs, JSON format, and working only with JSONs. So it doesn't matter. You're providing XML, it tries to parse. You're providing from request JSON, it works directly with JSON. And this library had all the features what we need, so we don't need to implement an additional code to iterate and match these JSON files. So, what the advantages of having our own service? Because we know what we want to do and how we want to do, so we are very flexible, extending it, adding new features, removing features, and most importantly, we are not tied to another library structure, implementation, and constraints. So for us, it's very easily to work. After that, before we were using with Imposter, all configuration was written in XML files, which became very big and unmaintainable. So right now, we start using just JSON key value appears. Right now, you see all the path. It's possible to use half of a path, just specific field, but we wanted to spot where in XML we have this value what we need. And the biggest winning was automatic mock collection, because anytime manually, automatically, you can just enable connection, mock collection, and everything will be collected. For example, if you're searching for booking, there are at least 50 or 80 calls to core systems, so you're automatically collecting 80 mocks at once. When we start working on that, developers were so afraid and raised, who will maintain it and how much effort do you need to maintain it? So we have two challenges. How you need to collect mocks, because do you want to do it manually or automatically? And another challenge, when you have very big, very rich mocking library, how you can update it. So how you want to keep your mocks as relevant as possible to the system. So let's talk about mock collection. So if you want to fast test something, compare your code changes, you can go directly through browser, enable mock collection, collect everything, refactor your code, rerun again to see if mocks, the same mocks are targeted, same data is aggregated from core systems. Oh, it's amazing. You can go. And the most useful thing for us that we maintaining mocks from end-to-end test cases. So if you write new test cases, you just running them and collecting and committing to repository, and you have independent test cases. And right now you see in a picture, when we start using this, we even have time for a coffee break. But this person not happy anymore because we have more challenges to solve. So another thing, when you have already collected data, but you think, oh, your business functionality changes, what you're gonna do. So you going, updating your end-to-end test cases. When your end-to-end test cases updated, you just rerunning them and looking, oh, I need additional mocks. Okay, if I need additional mocks, I'm just collecting. And after that, you can detect which mocks are not targeted yet, not relevant to the system, not relevant to functionality, so you can just drop them, because we want to keep our environment as fresh, as latest as possible to our business logic. Another thing, since we are saving request and response, and for example, you are not specific, want to introduce new field, you can just rerun your mock collection engine on existing files and update all configurations. Automatic. Everything is automatic. Amazing. So what we achieved with this one, so we are able to have a stable regression cycles. We can test our business logic independently from core systems because we already predefined responses, and we can test our microservices infrastructure independently from latencies or maintenance from core systems. By using mocks, so they are very fast. So our end-to-end pipeline total runtime was reduced by 24%. It means faster response to development. Amazing. Another thing. Also, when we're using mocks, we can simulate all the test cases and all edge cases that are happening in production, because our microservices just accumulating data, requesting data. So we need to make sure that our microservices infrastructure properly dealing with errors, timeouts, incorrect data, wrong data. And the biggest winning was, like I mentioned, maintenance, effortless maintenance. During this work, we also identified another entity, what we need to mock. In some cache microservices, we have databases. So we identified that we also need to mock databases and build knowledge around that. That later we can extend our mocking capabilities to mock databases. So also another Eureka moment was that, oh, we are in the middle core systems and our backends, so we can reuse it to load it or to test it our core system performance. So it was a very big winning. And maybe I'll return. And the biggest winning for us that when we have stable releases, stable test runs, stable test results, all teams starts collaborating, not only development team, but also department teams, and project owners start looking at the results and seeing, oh, what is failing, what is not, why it's failing, and it's easier to target it's failing in our microservice infra or core systems. So it's, if core systems are failing, it's very easy to ask specific question, because you can provide request which worked before, and you can compare what are the differences are. So for core systems also it's easier to solve problems. So phase 3, since we can reuse it, mocks, so I will elaborate more how we can look at the metrics when trying to run performance tests from to core systems and also our backend infra. Right now you see, refresh our memory. So here you see where we are saving mocks. So we are in the middle of core systems and our backend microservices. So it's very useful to use existing mocks to run against core system, because we already have all the information what we need. So how we are working on performance testing on core systems and what are use cases for us. Right now, if you have single request, single query, you can check how this query is performant, how your core system is acting to it, what is the throughput of single endpoint. More useful thing when you want to test user behavior, user flow, you just run end-to-end test, end-to-end flow, or click it manually, collect all the mocks, and using K6.io tool, you can run this sequence on predefined load users, and you can identify how your core system is reacting to actual user behavior. So you can spot bottlenecks, slow queries, and identify these things and address them. And one big thing, one big winning, we have core system releases, new versions coming up each quarter, 3 months, maybe yearly, depends on the version. So it was very useful to identify if we have bottlenecks, if our contracts still matching previous versions, are previous versions good enough in performance-wise, so we can take a benchmark, run our performance load scripts on an old core version system and compare to new version. How to identify backend limits. Also, it's possible to use it for our backend performance metrics overview, because we do not want to include our core systems latency and bottlenecks. We want to know our baseline of microservices internal connections. So you can do the same way, collect API flows. You can also use this mocking service, put it in between front end and back end, and collect with the same tool, same flows, same business functionality, and you can run against backend. So when you're doing this, your flow needs to target mock systems, mocks. And by doing that, you are able to identify what are your overall throughput of microservices, and also you can identify bottlenecks, which microservices start failing, which are not fast enough, and also you can identify chains of failing from one microservices, which error brought to another microservice. And takeaways. To wrap it everything, we came from really big chaos when before everything was tested manually and no one was confident. So right now we are able to test our system confidently. We're making sure that our business functionality always works as it is. And we are able to test edge cases, error handling, because in our core systems it was not possible to configure them to provide wrong data. And the biggest achievement was that we are able to refactor our code before releasing it, because you can run all the end-to-end tests, collect mocks to see the results. After that, you can refactor your one microservice in between and run the same tests to verify if data is aggregated correctly or mock services targeted correctly. And we saw that we can use staging environment without interruption because of proxy functionality, and we don't need additional costs for additional environment. And we saw that it improved a lot in collaboration, communication, because team are aware what is tested and test results are very stable. Thank you for your attention. I'm happy to take any question.
All right. Thank you, Darius. Before going to the questions, compliment to the audience for all the questions we are having in Slido. As expected, the numbers are staggering, and it's not the first session, but almost in all the sessions we have questions with 20 and more likes. So other conferences can be jealous of that, I would say. So applaudissements to the audience. And to start not so seriously with some feedback we received. So there are two comments I wanted to highlight regarding the feedback. So first of all is reflecting the vibe of our conference and, starting with the, compliment, not as a critique, and then we will go to the critique. So the compliment is magnificent bird. And this like 38 likes, and it's keep coming, as I look into that. And the critique was about small fonts in some of the slides, but it was like 0 or 1 likes or something like that. So the conclusions I draw from that, either your bird was so magnificent that it distracted everyone's attention from the slides, or maybe those small fonts was not that important.
All fonts just faded.
All right, let's get serious. Were there cases in your experience when testing mock data did not catch important issues as it did not reflect the production? And how to avoid this?
Very good question. I need to think about it. Usually, mostly, we are not catching edge cases because when we have edge cases or issue in production, we usually trying to reproduce it, take any logs and mock it, because we can identify use case and also we are fixing it. And we're making sure that this does not happen again. So since we have a lot of moving parts, and we just starting working on mocks, so it's just beginning. So I guess we still do not catching a lot of what is happening on production.
Another anonymous wondering, if you are mocking part of the flow, is it really end-to-end tests?
Yes, because core systems by its nature is like configuration, and you don't need to test configuration because in core systems it relies all resort-related data, all availabilities. For example, if you start to booking resorts, so you will be out of the rooms. So we just mock our static data with mocks and to see how this data is aggregated. So for us, it's end-to-end test.
How you measured the cost of rewriting solution from scratch versus current maintenance and those constraints, limitations related costs?
If I compare when we worked with Imposter, we worked like 1.5 months, and for me it was really big pain to do things manually. And also I wrote a lot of scripts to work with these request responses, condition matching. So for us, maybe it's time. So I sit and in 2 days, I just built main flow, which one a predefined response with mock, and to see if proxy is working. I presented it to my manager, said, oh, I have this solution, this works for me the best. And he said, Darius, go. And in 1 or 2 weeks, it was already in our microservices infrastructure.
That's how you see the good manager, yeah? Darius, yes. Go. Like, encouraging all the way. Another question, as you mentioned Imposter, there is a question about tooling. Have you considered using WireMock If yes, what did it lack for your use case?
We looked at WireMock, but I guess WireMock does not support true SOAP interface. That was essential for us because we need to support. We have a lot of different interfaces, so we have REST interface with XML text messaging. It's from legacy systems, so we need to deal with these things. I guess WireMock does not fit our needs.
With so many microservices, do you use contract testing between any of the internal services to be able to separate them?
Right now, it's very hard to have contract testing. We mostly relying on unit testing, which tests unit microservices with isolation. Maybe later we will think about it, but at least from our business perspective, we achieved quite a lot compared to what we have 2 years before. So maybe later we will consider that.
Can you tell a bit about how big is your team? Like how many people are working on it?
Small, 2 QAs. Yeah, so you have a lot of work to do. So if you automate more, you have more time to think about it.
All right. Yeah, question at the top is probably for the very, very end. And let's wrap it up with this one before going into lunch. You can answer that or you can leave it for the offline because, you know, it's about the same thing. How many years it took to grow this bird?
I'm sometimes cutting it in half. So right now.
And does anybody recognize when you cut it in half?
Yeah, right now it's almost 7 years I'm growing. I'm like 6-7 times cut it in half. So it could be like that long, but it's only that short.
All right. It was really refreshing and thank you very much.
Thank you all.